Hi, this is Ron and Hugh. Welcome to Politically Challenged. We're going to be talking about leadership skills.
And role model.
Yeah, we're going to talk about what makes a great leader. Now, according to one source, and from my personal opinion as well, the difference between a great manager and a great leader is that a manager is someone people work for, while a leader is someone people choose to follow. Now, also, while we were doing this research, I tried to look up the difference between the management behaviors and leadership characteristics, and this is what we found.
You
So,
basically looked at different types of leaders.
of course, we looked at different types of leadership styles, and also we looked up examples of relevant contemporary leaders that fit within some of these leadership styles. We weren't able to find every single leadership style with examples, but we managed to find different leadership styles and different examples.
Well, we'll probably cover the known ones and the great ones, like, I don't know. Think of them.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. Now,
Roosevelt, whichever one.
yeah, we found out different presidents and which leadership style they all fit into. I think we should just begin. An effective political leader is someone who stands up for the people, somebody with great communication skills and people skills. I think that the leader is also very good at making tough decisions. Do you weigh in on that?
I would say a leader should be pragmatic.
A pragmatic.
Okay, do you think in political terms, like in a war, like you should probably listen to your generals, and a leader should be able to know when to get advice and when not to.
Okay.
So you're not just gonna nuke a village just because like you hear something. You will listen to sergeants, soldiers, and like you get intel, you get researchers and different
Okay.
security services
Hopefully, a good leader would not want to nuke a village,
or a town.
like, unless it's the last resort.
I mean, even Trump probably gets like loads of assistance of what to do and what not to do. Didn't he send a few missiles to Syria?
Sure, every president would have to get advice about big decisions like that. But yeah, when he sent missiles to Syria, he did get people to advise him on what to do.
I mean, I think Churchill, he got criticized. He wasn't the prime minister at the time, but he got criticized for the Gallipoli disaster when loads of people he sent them in, but they died, and it was his fault because he planned it properly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with leaders. I mean, when we did our research together, we found out that a lot of people believe that what makes a good leader is someone who makes tough decisions and sometimes these decisions are unpopular at the time, but they may make sense later on.
Sometimes they don't make sense at the time or later on. Or sometimes you think it's alright, but the consequences become worse.
Okay, sure. And
You probably need a leader probably needs to know the right time to leave. To be honest.
so what you're saying is a good leader would have to be decisive, but
Yeah, and basically they have. I mean, we're all people that are like we're going to lose our capacities at some point. So you should know when you are no longer qualified to do what you do. In the
so where your strengths and where your weaknesses are.
And also when to leave. I mean, people have to leave their job at some point. You have to know when it's time to like stop being prime minister.
Okay, so statesmanship, for instance. So like if you're running for an election and you're trying to be the next president or prime minister or leader and you don't win, the statemently thing to do would be to step down. Is that what you mean?
Oh yeah, I remember like when was it like when was it, like in 2015 where Cameron won and then Miliband dropped out, Farage dropped out, and then he came back and
Yeah, Farage.
and then Clegg dropped out.
Yeah.
Basically, Farage is the only one that came back.
Yeah, Farage, Clegg, and Miliband, they all dropped out.
Farage came back.
The only reason why Farage kept back was because, unlike the other parties, the UKIP party was actually UKIP, not the UKIP party. UKIP was begging for him to come back. Labour and Lib Dems, they didn't want their leaders back. I mean, but you mentioned the definition of statesmanship. If somebody runs for the election and they win, they take control. If somebody loses, they step down, or even if they do win, they know when it's time to execute and when it's time to leave the position.
I mean, Cameron left after Brexit, and so did Farage, mainly because the people that voted for UKIP, they said that he's done his job, and they were pretty. Even people that voted for UKIP were sick of Farage at the end, I think. Well,
I
not
mean,
all of it, but some of it.
I mean, that's an opinion. I'm sure some people loved Farage and some people didn't
No, I think
love him
a
so much.
majority liked him, but after Brexit, they thought he's done the job, so they felt.
Okay, so like since his main issue was with the EU, he wanted us to leave the EU, and we finally did that, or we're finally in the process of doing that. He figured, okay, I'll leave now.
Yeah, and other people agree with him. I mean, agree that he is.
He still gets paid by the EU though. That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's not the best person to listen to.
Well,
I mean, we're not personally.
he did his job. We're leaving. We're having a Brexit, so why not?
And actually, another side note is that Italy, I think, are trying to negotiate a more of like a liberal sense in the EU. So maybe the EU system might change.
So with less rain, like
More control. And I said,
more control on the side of Italy, right?
Well, I think in terms of countries, I think it's like it's not just me, Italy, but different countries will have their say. Like I said, had it been the other way and the 52 had voted to remain, I would still recommend a reform of the EU system because it's too rigid.
Okay.
So maybe us leaving might be the best thing for the EU as a whole, and then if they're less rigid, then we could trade with them and there'll be less of
So you believe that us leading would trigger some sort of
I think it has.
some sort of not constitutional, some sort of systematic change within the EU.
I think it is. Hopefully, it'll be for the better, but obviously we don't know. As I say this, I don't know if it's going to happen and how it would happen. So ideally, it'll be for the best.
Hopefully.
That's all we can hope.
I mean, we should be leaving spring next year.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, so we looked at 12 different types of leadership, 12 different leadership styles. So we won't go into a massive amount of detail because it's a lot, but let's see. One is autocratic leadership. So is centered around the leader or the boss. It's in this type of leadership, the leader holds all authority and responsibility. Some leaders that fit into this group, according to one of our sources, would be Donald Trump and the leader of the Sunbeam Corporation, Albert J. Dunlap.
Who's that?
Somebody important. Okay, and then there's democratic leadership. In this style, so-called subordinates are involved in making decisions, and the followers of these leaders make contributions, and the democratic leadership is centered around these contributions. So the democratic leader holds the final responsibility, but this leader is known to delegate authority to other people. So the leader doesn't own all the power. Examples would be, Bob Diamond and Jack Stoll. I believe he was the CEO of Coca-Cola, and then Revlon.
Speaking of Coca, you know about that Colonel Sanders. He was a good leader for KFC.
You wanted to mention that. Okay,
Yeah.
so explain to us how you believe that Colonel Sanders was a good leader.
No, I like how he had a relatively well. He didn't have the easiest childhood. I mean, his dad died when he was 7, and he moved out when he was 13.
Okay.
And he went from like odd jobs here and there, and then throughout the stuff he did, we moved in with his brother later on, and then he worked in a restaurant, and then he cultivated those 17 spices or whatever spices. And
So what you're saying is he had a hard life. Different things happened to him, and instead of giving up, he kept going, and he gained tougher, and then somehow, eventually, after years of perseverance, he became successful and started up KFC.
yes, and I think at some point he sold it, possibly, and then he didn't like. I think I read a bit where he complained about the quality of the food after he left, about the chicken, and he didn't like the gravy. That was a big thing. He didn't like the gravy. But also, he did come back later on, and he was part of the ad campaign. That's what I was thinking about him now, because they're replaying old footage that he was in.
Oh yeah, I saw that commercial.
Yeah, loads of them. Yeah, like for the last 10 years or whatever, he was only publicly seen in his white suit. So, I mean, it's nice to know that he came. Well, it's nice to know that he had standards. So he kind of left for a bit, and he thought, oh, standards are gone. The chicken isn't as good as he thought, or the gravy isn't good. So he came back. I'm not sure how much input he had when he came back.
I mean,
the fact that he still cared.
Yeah.
So he thought, oh, I should leave, but then he came back because he just I wonder if he came back now, whether the standards are where he would want them to be.
I mean, perhaps.
I mean, we weren't there when the original recipe came out. Maybe like this is like a tenth of how good it was then.
It's a possibility. I mean, there are other examples of CEOs leaving and then coming back. Even Steve Jobs left his company and then came back. Although the difference was he fired him and then he took some time out, worked into himself, and he came back later on.
He's not coming back this time.
No, not this time, but obviously he came back.
So I think he was an innovator. He was a maverick in that sense. He was.
Yeah, I think he died and then Tim Cook took over.
Yeah, he was very valuable to that company, but he wasn't the nicest guy in terms of. But he got the job done, and.
I mean, okay, perhaps he was a visionary. That's another example of leadership.
But sometimes when you're visionary, you discount some of the nuts and bolts, and the nuts and bolts are the employees and the staff that he kind of he could have been a nicer guy.
I mean, it's an
everyone's
opinion.
flawed, so I don't think that
It's an opinion. I mean, he had a reputation of not being so nice, but at the same time,
Apple's one of the most profitable companies in the world. So.
Yeah, it's like worth $250 billion. So I think the execution made up for it. I mean, it says that visionaries, this form of leadership involves leaders who recognize that methods, the steps and the protocols of leadership are all
Ends
obtained
justify the means, basically.
Okay, yeah, the ends justify the means, and also that the steps and protocols of leadership are all obtained with and through the people within the company. He did that as well. He was very good at.
Do you want to say that bit?
He was very good at motivating people to execute his ideas. And so Steve Jobs is therefore an example of a of a visionary, as well as Nelson Mandela and Henry Ford.
Yeah. Henry Ford, he made the Model T, and obviously he's the one that started the Ford company.
We won't mention every type of leadership style that we found out about because we don't have too much time today. But what we can do is mention a couple more and then mention the leaders.
Well, they're all role models in a sense, like.
Okay, so charismatic leadership is one. This type of leader manifests their revolutionary power. They motivate people. They keep people going. They make people motivated so that they feel good about themselves.
Hitler was charismatic, wasn't he?
Technically, yes. You could argue that Hitler was charismatic towards his own people. His people thought that he had charisma, and he motivated them to vote for him and to follow his ideals.
Well, he did. Germany was going through a bad recession after,
Exactly.
All the payments they had to make for World War
The
I.
Weimar inflation and everything, yeah. And then after that, Hitler came in acting like a post-war hero, and people believed in it. And then all the terrible things happened. But you can't argue that he wasn't charismatic, at least in their eyes.
From what I heard, he was always public about his anti-Jewish rhetoric.
Or his anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what they call it. Yeah. He was basically always, but the fact he was making the company better, the country better, people kind of like, they kind of dealt with it. Like they were in a desperate situation and the country was doing better economically, so.
Sure.
I mean, they got the Berlin Olympics, didn't they? So.
I mean, there's also transformational leadership. Unlike other styles, this leadership style is all about initiating change in a company or in a group. So transformational leaders are all about instilling change in individuals and groups and companies. Examples would include Larry Page, the co-founder and CEO of Google, and also Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO and founder of Facebook. So these people want to change the status quo. They want to make things different, make things better.
So be the change you want to see.
Exactly.
That's a quote from Gandhi.
And one more before we move on to our next segment. Laissez-faire leadership. Now, it's not laissez-faire economics, it's laissez-faire leadership. Now, this type of leadership is where the leader would give authority to the employees. According to one source, departments or individuals that are led by that follow these leaders are allowed to work as they choose with minimal or no interference. Examples of these types of leaders include Warren Buffett, who's a billionaire investor, and Richard Branson, who is the founder of the Virgin Group. which includes Virgin Media, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Galactic, and everything else. He tried a Coca-Cola substitute, but it didn't work. Okay, so let's move on to the next segment. Yep. Okay, so if you could pick your favorite leader, apart from maybe Colonel Sanders,
He's not my
who
favorite.
would you?
He's your favorite leader.
No, he's not. But who would you pick? Like, think of a leader that inspires you, and why think of a leader that inspires you, and why they inspire you.
I can't think of any on top of my head, but I'll go back to the Hitler analogy and go into. People could probably Google this get on YouTube. It's the speech made by Charlie Chaplin from the movie The Great Dictator.
Okay.
That's it. That speech, I think.
Just that speech. Do you remember what he said?
Yeah, basically. I remember more about a speech that I watched before from the movie Network, where the guy says, "I'm as mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore." It's where you're just tired of all the nonsense that's happening. I'm not sure I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know the context, but the gist is that you're tired of all what's happening now, the shootings, the stabbings, the racism, the politically challenged, us not included, we're fine, but in general.
Okay, sure.
I mean, are you mad as hell where you can't take it anymore, Hugh? All the stuff that's happening?
No, I'm pretty okay.
Yeah.
In terms of political leadership styles, democratic leadership, coaching leadership, authoritative leadership, and affiliate leadership were more likely to gain support from voters than what they call pace-setting and coercive styles of leadership. That's according to one 2014 study.
Coercive, you mean like in a dictatorship?
Coercive, more like closer to commanding.
You mean like in football, the United manager asked, Alex Ferguson, almost an Arsenal Wenger, that's Arsenal's manager, who had a different approach.
Alex Ferguson is actually an example of an authoritative leader.
Yeah, he threw a boot at Beckham and he bled.
Jesus Christ, I didn't hear about that.
He called it a scratch.
You would. Other examples of authoritative leaders include Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, and Margaret Thatcher, a late Prime Minister of the UK.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, some people may have loved Thatcher, some people may not have liked her so much, but I think that in terms of, iconic Prime Ministers, she's definitely up there.
Yeah. I think the Conservatives probably have, there's Thatcher and there's, what's that name? Churchill. Thatcher and Churchill. Basically, the Conservatives have the two most well-known Prime Ministers.
Yeah, that's true. Thatcher and Churchill were both. They definitely had their controversies, but they are widely regarded as iconic figures within the list of prime ministers in our country.
Well, Thatcher maybe because she's the first woman, and
Churchill, but not just that. She was also the Iron Lady. She was very authoritative, very stern, very, whatever she wanted, she would get it, at least for the most part.
I think because she came into a male-dominated field and she basically told everyone, "Shut up, I'm talking now."
Perhaps. So you're saying it was that sort of attitude and that confidence to integrate within a male-dominated field, and then basically, lead all of these men, and basically not just tell them what to do, but to also delegate tasks to different people and
they have
to
to
lead a
respect her
country.
in order to listen. It's not just like you don't want someone loud just saying whatever. You have to respect them in order to listen. But like she said, she's not meant for turning.
Perhaps.
And obviously Churchill was during World War II. I have no idea who was Prime Minister during World War One. Which is weird, to be honest. I would say World War One was probably difficult.
So so Margaret Thatcher would come under authoritative or commanding. So,
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, we'll move on to another one. So according to another source that we found, there are greater differences between mere managers and leaders. So, for instance, The common traits shared by managers would be that they are able to execute a vision, so they can take a strategic vision, and break it down into smaller steps or into a path or a roadmap to be followed by a team. They're able to direct, so the day-to-day operational efforts, they're able to direct and make sure that those are executed. They're able to review resources that are needed and to anticipate the needs of a company along the way. They're also good at managing the process, so they establish roles within the workplace and other standards and operating procedures. And they're also people focused, so they look after the people in their team and their needs, and they also listen to them and involve them of the decision-making process. At least that's what a good manager is supposed to do.
Back to football, I was talking about like how Arsene Wenger came. Their names both start with A, but yeah, Arsene Wenger came to Arsenal and he changed the fitness regime, the health regime. Basically said no more greasy food, no more this, no more that, and that kind of revolutionized the English football league.
So Arsene Wenger was the type of leader that would change the status quo.
Yeah,
so more
he
of
stayed too long. That's why people say
transformational leader.
Yeah, but some people say you overstayed his welcome. That's the thing where you have to understand where your use is, and he kind of stayed. I would say maybe 3 years longer than he should have.
Okay, that's an opinion. I mean, some people would agree with that.
A lot of people would put banners about that, but that's a whole other thing.
Okay.
Speaking of football, I don't like Ramos.
No?
He's not a nice guy. He broke Salazar. He's a captain. He's probably one of the best players Madrid's ever had in history. I talk about football because the World Cup's coming, so we might as well cover it.
Alright. Okay, so we've gone into football, and we've gone into how Arsene Wenger was the type of leader that would change the status quo, a bit of a visionary, a bit of a transformational leader.
Fergie was more of a confrontational
and of course a coaching leader for obvious reasons.
Fergie was more of a confrontational person.
Okay.
Fergie as in, Alex Ferguson, not the singer or
Alex
the Duchess.
Ferguson.
Yeah.
Okay, and how was he confrontational?
I did tell you he threw a shoe at Beckham. No, he kicked the shoe and it landed. I don't know. I mean, I remember one of Arsenal's players threw a pizza at him. He wasn't happy about that. Maybe that's not what he ordered. But
Jesus. Alright. Okay,
I think he had cheese on it, yeah.
Okay, so back to managers and leaders. So managers are good at the day-to-day stuff and listening to their team.
Yeah, whereas, leaders on the pitch and all that stuff. Leaders in sport, leaders in the classroom maybe.
Okay.
You could probably in a core in that situation, the teacher could be the manager and the leader's like the dominant characteristic, like a dominant student in the class. People tend to follow them. So if you know what I mean.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm guessing you were the troublemaker at school.
No, I was too boring for that.
Neither was I. I mean, so was I.
But elaborate on your leaders in the classroom one. That one's interesting.
Basically, when one person's being loud, everyone starts talking and so on.
Okay.
And the manager basically just comes.
So like a dominant personality.
Yeah, the dominant person. I don't think anyone in my school really had it, but some classes did, where there was like a person that's loud and everyone knew who they were, and it's like I think there'd be like there's a social structure, there's a social hierarchy. We have business hierarchy, but there's a social hierarchy as well.
Okay.
We talk about experience and so on, like someone's popular, male or female, whatever, and people tend to be, oh, she's like that, so I should like that, or oh, this will get their attention, this will get his attention, her attention, whatever. Other people act up around them in order to like increase their. There's a bit of peer pressure then if you think about it in the purely school sense.
Yeah.
But there's probably peer pressure in the professional workplace as well.
Okay.
People would, you're supposed to be like kind of invasive and kind of full on in work because you're supposed to get the opportunity. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. We did talk about. You did want to start about the corporate side of it, so. In the workplace, you probably need to be.
Yeah, we'll go into that later. But I digress once again. So with managers, they're good at listening to their team members. They're also good at managing day-to-day operations. Whereas leaders, according to several sources, the main characteristics of a good leader would be honesty and integrity. That's useful to get people to believe in you and to buy into your vision. Also vision, to know where you are to know where you want to go and how to get there, and also to enroll your team in, creating a path for the future. Inspiring people, you've also got to inspire people as leaders, so you inspire your team to be all that they can be and to understand each individual team member's role in the bigger picture. You've got to make sure that they see that as well. Also, you've got, as a leader, you need to be able to challenge the status quo and to do things differently in order to make the overall system or the overall company better. So, well, it could be a company, it could be a country, it could be any sort of institutional organization that you're trying to lead, even if it's a small team. And of course, as we said before, you've got to have good people skills and good communication skills. You've got to keep your team informed, articulate where you're going, where you are and where you're going, and
you have to be tactful. You say you have to be honest. I think you also have to know when to not be honest. It's useful.
So in what sense?
I mean, like, it's not. I think I'll probably go out of the corporate sector and just go to war. Like, sometimes you're not supposed to public reveal secrets that are threat to national security.
Okay, but like if you're leading a team, not keeping secrets from the enemy.
Okay, let's say like you want like 5 people to go for a promotion, even though one is definitely. You say they all have an equal opportunity, so like you already have your ideal pick. But like if they all think they have a chance, you'd be like, oh, they surprised me, so you get right. So you basically tell them they all have equal chance, even though you already have fair to begin with. It encourages a sense of like ethic.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it gives a sense of motivation. I wouldn't say that's a lie. That's more of like an implication that you're implying that they have a chance, but there's some reward in that. So, like you said, a man would know. Well, I say man, maybe a woman. A person should be able to know when to lie and when not to lie. You have to be good at lying.
Well, not necessarily to be a good leader. You don't need to lie to your team. I
Well,
mean,
I
would argue that
skill.
honesty.
It's a useful skill.
I would argue that transparency is more important, and that you need to be honest.
Are you saying you want to know?
Like
everything?
if you're the CEO of a company, you have to be honest with your stakeholders, especially your shareholders, your employees, your vendors, your customers, everybody, all the people that
But some
take a stake
companies
in it.
aren't as honest as they should be, and they do that in order to like save their company from like going bankrupt and minimizing losses.
Yes, but as we've spoken about in private conversations, when companies avoid paying tax or evade paying tax and then they're found out, or if they do something slightly immoral or even illegal and then they find out, the business, the reputation is ruined or damaged in some way, the stock price or the share price falls, investors and shareholders, they lose confidence in the company altogether, and eventually these companies collapse.
Yeah, I was talking more of a sense of like, I wouldn't say the whole tax evasion thing, I wasn't, it's good that you mentioned that point, but at this point I was talking about like, I wouldn't say like, I think I was thinking about losses in terms of like, they downplay how bad it is, so they have time to like, they have some faith of their stakeholders, so they scale some capital in order to improve it. Obviously,
Sure.
in that situation, they could basically lose their capital from the investors as they pilot in to try to overcome that loss. So, I mean, yeah, in some situations, that's why I said you have to be tactful when to lie and when not to lie. It's not a case of like lying for the sake of lying and being honest for the sake of honest. I mean, like, you don't want to be honest about all your secret. I mean, what if the colonel had told people about the KFC recipe when he was starting out?
I mean, okay, that's a point where you shouldn't reveal your secrets to rivals, but within your own team, obviously you should be as honest as possible within your own organization.
Yeah, but there's also a risk of that getting leaked.
What, by people within the yeah, okay, sure. There's a possibility.
And also, as an employee, you're working your CV, you're like, if I tell them this, I will probably get a more senior role in that company. And
those people are idiots, but yeah, I understand that.
No.
You got to be wary of
idiocy.
traitors.
I think it's them just trying to survive.
It's
them staying competitive in a way. They're trying to stay ahead of the curve. So one person could be like,
by betraying the company and running to another one.
Well, some people do that.
I guess. It makes sense that you'd have to keep secrets from rivals and competitors, but not people within your team. From our other sources, like there were these books that we read, How to Lead and The CEO Next Door. Other leadership traits and characteristics we found included knowing how to prioritize, so basically doing the most important tasks first. Also, being able to control the day-to-day operations and knowing how to, well, being prepared, obviously. What was I going to say? Also,
What were you
knowing
saying?
how to delegate tasks to the right people. So the CEO or a leader can't do or a managing director can't do everything. Even if it's a supervisor or a manager, you have to make sure that you delegate tasks to different people so that everything is or everything on the list is completed.
Like I said about the Prime Minister, they would probably need advice from the Home Secretary and people about self-defense, the Army,
Sure.
military, Navy.
And those people would have their own jobs to do as well.
And they would have a separate team of people.
Exactly. It sort of branches out.
It's
like
a shared sense of responsibility.
Sure, it sort of branches
Theresa
out.
May probably has a big team. Well, she has a team of white people telling her what to do, and
A team of people, yeah.
Yeah. She gets advice from there, and she gives her advice. I mean,
We also found that such leaders would have to be very impactful and relentlessly reliable as well, not to mention adaptable to any changes within the field, the industry, or even the world that may affect the microenvironment or the macro environment. In other words, the internal environment and the external environment of a company. So the micro environment means like within the company, macro environment means outside of the company. So let's say there's a war going out or maybe you're running an oil company and there's no more oil in Venezuela, that might affect your company's stock price.
there's oil in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe if the oil in Scotland ran out and your company had Scottish oil and now it doesn't, the stock price might fall. Well, let's say going back to the difference between a good manager and a good leader, we'll take an extract from real life. So I had a friend that works at this office once, and she didn't like a manager. And even though managers can be good leaders, being a manager doesn't necessarily mean that one is a good leader. So leaders are meant to motivate people and lead by example. This friend of mine, her manager was not too liked by some of the employees. They didn't like this person as a manager. One day, the upper management found out that this manager was stealing money from the company, and then after that, that manager was fired. This didn't help this person's reputation because the manager was already accused of being rude to staff, and according to the other employees, the manager wasn't very motivating. So, it just solidified a negative reputation of this person who used to work at a company. True leaders are supposed to know how to build trust and form relationships with their team members and lead by example. You can't be rude to staff and steal from the company and technically break the law and be a good leader. It's not what constitutes someone who is good at leading by example.
No, some people aren't looking to be a leader, they're just looking for self-preservation.
Okay.
I don't know who this person is, doesn't really matter, but I think in that situation they probably thought, no one's paying attention to me anyway to see what I can get away with.
I mean, perhaps that
People have so basically, while they were probably the leader in that situation, they probably have the main owner and different people ahead of them. So basically, the person that was leading them probably didn't do a good job, which allowed them to do what they did.
Makes sense.
I think there's a sense of responsibility. Like, I wouldn't say I'm much of a leader, I'm probably more of a follower, but I would say my actions are my responsibility at the end of the day. I don't think I should blame the leader. I would say I'm equally responsible for the leader's action as they are for mine, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so you would subscribe.
I'm a believer of shared responsibility.
Okay, sure. That makes a lot of sense.
If Theresa May makes a bad mistake, I'm not just blaming her, I'm blaming the people around her. And also the media that criticize her and the media that praise her, both sides. Like, when she does something good, it's amazing, and when she does something bad, it's terrible. I mean, like, take the middle ground and see how it works out rather than jump into conclusions.
So what you're saying is if somebody, any leader, whether Theresa May or otherwise, made a good or bad decision, that person shouldn't only take the credit or blame. It should be the advisors and the people around that person that helped make the decision.
Well, they have a tendency of just like, well, she has a tendency. The thing of like she's conservative, so her party gets. I wouldn't say it's, but she gets criticized a lot. I think she gets criticized more than the Conservative Party do. But she was the one that they voted in, so they clearly are safe now. I mean, Corbyn gets a lot of criticism as well, but it's not a bad opposition. It took them a while for him to get that level of support, but I would say the party's doing better after everyone else basically huddled up and said, he's our leader, we have to support him.
Yeah, the Labour Party did do better once they accepted Jeremy Corbyn as the leader properly, instead of just trying to get rid of them every chance they got.
That's the problem. You don't really need to associate with the Conservatives. They tend to be united in a sense.
I mean, the Conservatives, they've got their factions as well, but it's not as pronounced.
There's still people who are in and out of Brexit, and there are other different factions, but to me, there still seems to be a little more unity in the Conservative Party, but I'm not in the party, so I don't know. But to me, from the outlook, it looks like they're slightly more united, slightly.
Okay. So, and to finalize our podcast for today, we will look into some more of our research that we did in how to be a leader. Now, we came across something on YouTube called The 5 Levels of Leadership. It's based on a book by John C. Maxwell. It was so we had a channel called Better Man Project, and we looked into this interpretation of the book, and this is what we found. The link to the YouTube video is shown in our description box as well. So the 5 types of leaders, the 5 levels of leadership. So number 1, the bottom level would be the position. So you're the boss, so like a manager or a supervisor, so people have to follow you. The second lowest level would be permission. You're a leader because people want to follow you. You're able to build relationships and understand your followers. You're able to build relationships with your followers and also to understand their needs. You're also able to listen well, to observe, to keep learning, and to serve others. Now, the middle level would be production. You're able to lead by example. People follow you because you've done what you are teaching them, and you get results. You're also able to build and sustain momentum. And then there's the second highest level, people development. You help people grow by teaching them skills in order for them to progress. You also recruit and position and equip people well. You also help utilize people's strengths while they learn new skills. And then the top level is the level where you get respect. That's where you have a legacy of developing people into leaders. Okay. Now, on that note, we are done for today's episode. Now, you can check out our social media. We've got a YouTube channel and the rest of our social media.
Ideally, they listen to us on YouTube.
Hopefully, yeah. From now until further notice, you can only get our new episodes on YouTube and not SoundCloud, until we sort things out with SoundCloud. And also, comment in the comment section who your favorite leader is and tell us why. It'll be really interesting to see.
Facebook or YouTube, I don't really know.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You just tell us who your favorite leader is, and it'll be really interesting to see which leader you prefer and which leader is your favorite, and please tell us why. Okay, so bye from Ron and Hugh.
Bye.
Goodbye.